Welcome to Meeples on Meeples, episode 47. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Brian.
I'm Ian.
First off, I'd like to have you come check us out at meeplesonmeeples.com. Also come and like us on our Facebook, and check out our YouTube page. This week we played Zpocalypse.
Zpocalypse is your basic theme of zombie apocalypse. In this case, the zombie apocalypse broke out, the United States dropped a bomb on the place, and you're trying to survive from the radiation and the zombies are coming after you. The gameplay is played in 4 sessions. The first phase is the scavenge phase. All of your people start out in the bunker. And on the scavenge phase, you are sneaking out in the daytime when the zombies are the weakest to pick up a scavenge item. And you pull one of these cards. And the card gives you a little bit of flavor text about what's happening as you scavenge. And a couple things happen. You usually find other survivors that you can pull into your team. And also you do a check to see if you are successful in your scavenge or not. And you roll dice to see if you succeed or fail. The really difference between success and fail is what you find and also how many zombies that you pop up during your scavenge. When you're done scavenging and rolling the dice, you'll pick up one of the tiles, place a tile of your choice on the board, or where you want on the board, your choice. The closer to the bunker entrance that you place the tile, you get points. I'll talk about those in a second. And then you automatically spawn the amount of zombies on the scavenge card on the tile that you place. After the scavenge phase, there's other phases that you go through. The second phase is the feed phase, where you have to feed the survivors that are on your team in order to keep them on your team. If you cannot feed the survivors you can't feed with food, such as this card here, have to stay in the bunker as you go out at the night and try to defend your housing. Also at the time of the feed phase, you reset all of your hit points from the day before and revitalize anybody who survived if this is the second day, as well as you can set up protective barriers to keep zombies out of your sight. After everyone's done with the feed phase, or phase 2, feed and fortify, phase 3, there's something that happens. The zombies that are on the board, you pull a card that tells you what's happening that night that can make these zombies more powerful or less powerful. At that point, all the players again place another tile on the board, and you place the number of zombies indicated on the something's happening card based upon the night that you're playing. You usually can play up to 4 nights, and each night the zombies get more powerful. The last phase that you go through is the combat phase. Now the combat phase is something that's usually unique in that in this case, night has fallen, and now it's time for you to exit the bunker to try to defend the bunker from the onslaught of zombies that are coming after you. And the combat stage goes between the survivors, zombies. All the survivors, all the zombies. And there's a give and take between the movement. The zombies are controlled by the card, and the fact that the zombies are trying to get into your bunker to eat everybody, or to the survivor that's closest to them to eat them. The combat phase keeps going until 1 or 2 things happen. All the zombies are killed. If all the zombies are killed, all the survivors go back to the bunker and you begin the next day. Or all the survivors are killed, in which case the game ends and the survivors technically lose. Now this is not like your typical zombie survivor game in that there is a winner overall. Even if all the survivors are killed, during the game you score points that are kept on this point tracker. Every time you kill a zombie you score a point. Every time you find an item you score a point. At the end of the game, depending on the items that you have, you score points.
You have special daily goals
that you pull at the beginning of phase 1 that gives you extra points as well. So even if you do lose, there's still a winner to the game, and that was who is the best survivor, who scored the highest point. Now that's oversimplifying this a little bit, but it kind of gives you the idea and the feel of the game as it plays. The first place that we usually start talking about the game is components.
I'll start with, we always talk, or at least Andrew and I are big fans of player boards. Really nice player board.
Yeah, no,
it has dials to keep track of your firearm skill, your melee skill, which affects how you roll an attack, your armor, your hit points. All of these turn and they stay in place fairly well. Some are a little looser than others.
I would say that they move well enough to where it's not hard to turn them, but the only one that I had trouble with is when you turn the middle one. This one doesn't stay in place, so you have to remember...
Yeah, the smaller one in the center.
But other than that, but you can look back on your cards and see where it's supposed to be.
Also your player aid, too. Yes. It reminds you what happens in each phase to keep you on track and help you learn the game, too. So all on one very thick cardboard piece is really nice.
Yeah, they actually even put a texture on the back too, just to, even though they didn't have to. But I mean, the overall it has the good feel of the zombie apocalypse.
The other thing I like is the dice. The dice are, I mean, they're very well designed. Unlike other dice, this dice has a Z in the 6th column. And when you attack a zombie, usually depending on the weapon that you use that you pick up as you search, a roll of a 5 or a Z generally kills a zombie. And it's really easy to see, you know exactly what's hitting you. The ammo is controlled by blue dice, so unlike other games you have to keep track of your ammo and discard ammo tokens or roll for ammo. Every time you shoot a gun, you roll a ammo dice, and if it says click, you're out of ammo and you can't shoot it again until you reload. So everything is taking care of itself on dice.
And they're engraved, so the dice will hold up. It's not just painted on where it might wear off like some games.
Yeah, but it's fun with the click and the Z to kind of give you a little bit more feel of the game itself. And then interlocking pieces. Let's go.
I didn't even get to bring it up.
Into interlocking pieces.
The map is interlocking pieces as you build it. It doesn't go anywhere. I mean, they're pretty decent. They're double. Each item is double-sided, so you can play. You know, it gives you a different setup every time, depending on which way you flip it up. But they're interlocking and they stay pretty good.
And again, thick, nice quality.
The main thing was the cardstock was not very good.
Not very good. We're
Terrible.
talking like half of a cardstock.
Yeah, they're very they're plastic, but they're thin plastic.
It's got that nice texture. It actually feels like it's made from high quality, but like you said, it's like they took a card and cut it in half to make it 2 cards. It's so thin.
It's very thin.
They were cutting corners or something.
It did feel like paper. It really did.
Yeah.
The miniatures are pretty good. Each character, the miniatures are just to show the fact that you have a group and you choose 2 miniatures to represent you, and they go on a base just so you can see where you're at and reflect where you're going and that you are a
The base
group.
matches your color for your player board. So if you're the blue player, there's a little blue square.
Which kind of diminishes the fact of you trying to actually see which color you are and which one you're moving. Because
The only thing I don't like about it is
option on top of
besides the dog, and even with the dog, I don't really see, like, I did not have anything where it mattered, so they could have just made little figures that are solid red, solid yellow,
yeah,
which I think would have been a little better.
But yeah, but they have interlocking pieces, and that actually changed a little bit with the different expansions they have, the figurines and things like that they add onto it. It has a scorecard that's fairly easy to find out. Every time you cross a colored space, you get more skill points to make your patients or your people more powerful. Pretty good meeples for keeping track of score. When you look at the cards have a lot of detail. All the information that you need is on each card, telling you what to do.
Here's a dislike. There's way too much writing on some of these cards. Look at all of that on here. And sometimes the wording on it, especially when you get, for instance, the what is it? You keep covering with your hand there. Yeah, your daily goal. Sometimes it's worded. What does this mean exactly? I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to be doing.
So
here.
the English teacher hate words on cards.
No, I hate the fact that it is so crowded that they really could have.
They could have gotten a bigger card set.
The graphic designer could have done something with this. This is just really crowded and
in the defense,
poorly worded at times.
Not that I love mini cards, but if you'd gone smaller with mini cards, you'd never been able to read it. But if you go with bigger cards, this spreads out pretty good.
Yeah, they're big. So they do what they want. The items that I kind of, there's one just under. The items that are kind of chintzy is when you have food. Most of them just say food. A couple of them have special food items. This could have been a little more special, but it does what it needs to do.
I get the theme of the board and the chaotic nature of it, but it is really hard to recognize anything on the board, and that kind of distracts from like what I actually need to get to when I need help in the game, or what I need to avoid when I'm trying to move. It seems like it slows down what I want to do.
The items on the board are supposed to, like a lot of boards do, are supposed to help you identify what's going on. So they outline the walls so you can see line of sight and what's being blocked. But there's also a lot of miniature icons such as radiation, biohazards,
your search,
tiny writing,
stop points where your character has to stop when it gets a yellow triangle.
Boundary points for that.
And
Very
that
busy
stuff
board.
is not so bad. Like you see the triangles. You get to the search, I would get out a magnifying glass because you have to see what's inside the search to know what kind of card you have to pull.
Down here, yeah. It says it down here, but it's a really busy board.
I can't read that from here.
Yeah.
I'm a foot away.
It's a really busy board with really small
This
writing.
is the problem, and then the zombies are standing on everything. So you can't see any of those symbols after
It's a really busy board. They could have made the symbols a little clearer, or coloration of the symbols a little bit clearer, because they are hard to see. And they're important. If you cross through a biohazard or radiation, you have to take damage. And so you want to be able to plot out your move beforehand, and sometimes you're moving and then you see it too late and you're like, oh,
Are we kind of sliding into strategy here?
Well, no, that's still components. It's hard to see and you need to see it. Any other parts of components?
No, I mean, very nice components overall. For the most part, it's a good looking,
I think it's also
sturdy,
kind of neat
well built.
that the base or your bunker is separate, so like you can pop up in many different places, you know, so that it doesn't have to be connected.
I think that the base or bunker would have been nice, but it would have been like, I understand this is the base, but it didn't need to be a separate beast for me.
Well, that's so you could pop up in here or in the manhole, so that.
No, I agree with that, but it could have still been just a piece, like a thick cardboard. I mean, that's thin.
Yeah, it is. It's separate from the thing.
So let's go into the strategy for us. Andrew, you want to start? Or?
Oh, I found no strategy in this game.
Well,
there's nothing I could really do. It just didn't.
I think one thing that we didn't do very well, and I took over because I had to step out of the game for a little bit, but teamwork is much more important than we played it. We should have, you know, everyone was kind of just scattered and we were doing our own things. I think teamwork, the first day half of us were, or 3/4 of us were killed off on the first day. One guy survived. And I think
3/4 of us wanted to die on the first day. Is what happened.
3/4 of us died on the first day. One person survived, and I think
let's go with the guy that survived.
Teamwork would have been more.
I thought Andrew and I did actually incorporate a strategy, which we actually used the manholes to get away, get into the zombies, and then get back out again in order to utilize our base, because they have to follow to the base based on location on the board. So if they're all swarming our entrance, we could pop up out of a manhole way out on the other side of the board, run around a little bit, and then pop back in again.
Or you can lure them away.
Right.
Because if they're closer to you and they see you, they're going to come after you rather than going towards the base. So there's strategy involved, yes.
But strategy to actually play the game, it actually went a little bit easier when you were running the zombies versus actually you run the zombies as a group. I didn't like it. Was really kind of like, well, do we move it here? You know, there's a lot of talking back and forth, except for one person that's actually holding. So to make this a 5-player game, it was 100% possible.
There is a 5-player expansion that one person does play the zombies on purpose.
Yeah, and well, I mean, like
I would say
put that in main game.
There would be a better way to play, and I think it would be easier to form a strategy because you're playing against a player, not playing against yourself.
Yeah, and that's the 5th expansion. The 5th-player expansion is out there for that, and it adds more complicated zombies.
As far as working together, though, a lot of the daily goals, or several of the daily goals, specifically say,
don't work together.
Screw other people.
Yeah,
if you'll get bonus points if you convince one of them. I said if I convinced somebody to hand me a weapon, and then I just laughed, and as my next action I just ran away from them, bonus for me, haha, to them, and I went up in stats and blah blah blah. So it is a semi-co-op game, but just straight up working together.
Yeah,
you are keeping score, and there is a winner. So that's not necessarily.
That's what they call a semi-co-op. There is some screwage that is involved if you really want to play for the points. That is true.
But yeah, knowing when to run into battles and when to run away from battles.
100%.
Is huge. Otherwise, you will die. I mean, it's easy to die in this game if you don't play it right.
So, likes and dislikes.
I'll start with that. I like the components. And I know, I'll tell you right now, I know I'm the only one up here who said this because I've played it with another person, another group. I do like the theme. It is, once you get into it,
I love zombies. Zombies is a great thing.
Well, once you get into it, I like the theme of how this plays versus some other zombie games out there, in that it is unique, in that you have different phases. There's different things that you do in each time, and at the end of the day, you know, it's not like there's, for example, I'll use Zombicide, it's just hordes of zombies coming after you. There's a break. You kill the
that's
zombies,
what zombies are. Hordes and hordes of brain-dead zombies just come at you.
At points in this game where you're like, you take 18 points of damage, well, you have 6.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean,
but I'm not adding like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of zombies. Like on Zombicide, where you just keep adding. There's no hope.
Yeah, but at least in Zombicide, you could attack more, to kill more, to try and bring down you get like 1 attack, and you're like, oh, I killed 1 guy.
If we're going to do a direct comparison, which we're obviously doing, maybe we should make a video of that, I don't know, but
I'm just saying that in this, the attack features weren't quite as strong as I would have liked them to be, because you can only kill so much, and there's so much. It's not like you can attach each zombie. You know, you can't say, I'm going to attack this one, this one, this one.
I was expecting this to be more action-oriented.
Right.
And once you go through the 4 phases, the combat phase is probably about half the game. Because these other 3 phases go by fairly quickly. It's like, okay, eat food, fortify, blah, 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 and it just takes a couple minutes. And then the combat is like, well, we have to clear the board. So maybe it's not that there wasn't a lot of combat, it just wasn't that
what's
fun. I don't know, I didn't enjoy the combat in this for some reason.
Well, yeah, it takes a while to get into it, because I was rolling 7 dice at some point. I was into it, but I had also survived the first night.
You need to get a lot of equipment to build up.
It takes so long to steamroll that option, and it seems like it's hopeless and less engaging at that point.
You really do have to survive the first night and take the take advantage.
Not only that, but
even when I had 2 turns to shoot, because I had 2 guns with both characters, it still seemed like I was getting nowhere.
To level up, you get a bonus point that you can turn your dial up 1 when you hit 5, 10, 15, when you hit certain victory points. And before you can start rolling extra dice for most of the weapons, you have to hit 5, and then you get 1 extra die. And then if you hit
more than that,
10, which is super hard to do, you might get
special abilities.
Extra dice.
Some of them have special abilities though at 5.
I'm just saying, a lot of the game you're going to be rolling 2 to 3 attack dice. And
well, it depends on how many. Depends on how many. Well, the problem is since we died off in the first day, it also depends on how many survivors are with you. I mean, the more he had 7, 8 dice at one point because he had 4 survivors. He survived the first day. We did not.
Yeah,
so we
thanks
kind
for
of,
that.
Yeah. We kind of were stuck with 1, 2 survivors on that second day because we didn't survive.
The question comes though. I mean, the theme comes across in the game. However, though, it seems like they start. I mean, with your player pieces and being engaged with your pieces moving across the board, although they're nice pieces, it really kind of hinders you. Because you can't see your color when you have a bunch of people around. You have to really pay attention to that. They don't really fit on there that great, and it doesn't matter what character you are.
Because they don't match with
it doesn't match the card.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm that character.
I noticed that the zombie characters also have that, where the little holes where you can put them on a base.
Without the expansion, there's expansions that will utilize that.
Okay.
But I mean, and also
like
with
zombie hordes.
With the horde of zombies on the board, you can't see anything on the board.
Yeah, that is one of my dislikes. Is that the symbols on the board are very busy, and they put too many symbols. I mean, they could have put less symbols. Right now, there's a symbol on almost every square or on every board. They could have lightened up on the symbols.
They could have color coordinated some stuff. I mean, they could have done a lot of other things that would.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of it is color coordinated. The symbols just there just for more color.
It's really neat to bring the theme in all the aspects they have, but it really you dislike how it works through.
It's too busy.
I would hate to say it, but they could have made the squares bigger.
Yeah.
To stretch it out a little more. I know it would make it where you need a little more space, but I think that would have.
And they also don't need us. I know that they're trying for a theme and a feel in each of these rooms, but there's a lot of symbols and like your base here that we created has. I don't even want to count up. There's just tons of symbols in that base that just make it. It looks neat, but it's too cluttered.
Yep. Are we ready to move on to the review here, or we could beat the likes and dislikes to death?
You want me to go?
Yeah, let's start on that.
Okay, 1 to 10. 1 is terrible. 10 is awesome. We can go this way. What the heck?
All right, I'm gonna 4. This one The theme is nice, the interlocking pieces, the components are there. But although how good they are, it just ends up being, it's a miss. It's a miss on, it wasn't as fun, it was hard to get into, there's plenty of rules that just really take away from either cooperative play or non-cooperative play, or however you want to play it. There's too much to go wrong with this one. It's just, the fun wasn't there, how much does this even cost?
I got it for cheap. I didn't get it paid.
That'd be good. That'd be good. You want an extra free if you can get it.
Wow.
I wouldn't buy the game. I wouldn't play it again. It didn't flow right. It was hard to pick up and go. And there's a lot of just breaks in the game where you just find yourself sitting there doing nothing, waiting for either zombies to move or the next person to try to figure out what they're doing, or even play with your cards to read through everything you have to read through in order to make your decision on what you're going to do.
All right.
I didn't want to score this one high.
You've watched enough of our reviews to get to know our personality. This should have been a home run for me. Zombies, a horror game, check, boom. Nice components. I've always say I'm a sucker for miniatures, and this has tons of them, and they're actually fairly detailed. Interlocking pieces. Not a review goes by where I don't jokingly mention that. Got it. Player aids with cool dials. Check. And with all of that being said, I'm probably also at about a 4. I was pretty excited about this game. I thought it looked cool, and about 5 minutes into it, I was already like, this is really kind of slow, kind of drags on. You do feel like you have a lot of downtime, like Ian mentioned. But I think just what really hurts it is this is a ridiculously crowded genre right now, the whole zombie thing. We own a lot of games, and we've reviewed, we're almost up to 50 reviews now, and 4 of them have been zombie-themed games.
Are there 5?
I don't believe so. We've done Zombicide, Quarantine Z, Last Night on Earth, and this.
Okay.
So, but basically, we're talking almost 10% of our reviews have been zombie games. They're always coming out. They're always being kickstarted. They almost all have huge, outrageously expensive expansions. And so if you have a couple already, I don't see what this is bringing to the table that's new. Zombicide had nicer components. Zombicide had more action and more options when it came to action.
But we didn't rate Zombicide as...
I did. I gave it a 7. I loved it.
Well, so, 7, yeah, well, I mean, that's still pretty
And
good.
honestly, now having played more zombie games, I probably would bump Zombicide up, seeing the competition.
But I really like Last Night on Earth.
So, yeah, and that was also a really good game. So, if you have a couple of those other games, basically what I'm saying is that there's no reason to have this in your library. I thought it would be more fun. I thought it would be faster paced. It just didn't do it for me. I found all of the phases to be, they all just took a little too long. They kind of dragged the game on. And I don't know, I was kind of out of it. I was tuning out after a while.
I would score it higher than these guys. I'm scoring it a 6. It's not a perfect game, but a couple things. I like how this is different than other zombie games. Other zombie games is just a plain old zombie kill, zombie kill. This one, there's strategy before you even get into the killing. Where are you going to put your traps? Where are you going to put your walls? How are you going to funnel them in? I mean, there's thought process that can go in before that. Feeding your people, you know, I don't want this guy, but I want a guy that's left in the bunker because he has special abilities I can use. So I'm going to choose who I'm going to feed and who I'm not going to feed and leave the bunker. Phase 3, something's happening. You know, we have to set up the map. You get to decide what the map looks like. So where am I going to put this square? Where am I going to put this so that it gives me the advantage? I mean, so there's before you get into combat, there's a ton of pre-strategy that you can
I'm not disagreeing that that's there. The question is any of that fun?
It is to me because it gives you, it's different. It is
No,
different
it's not.
than any other.
You're wrong.
It's different
Your opinion is wrong.
It's different than any other zombie game because you have to use that strategy beforehand. This game is based upon pre-combat strategy. It's like, which is what you would do in a real zombie situation, is when the zombies are attacking, I'm going to use my strategy during the day when they're the weakest to really plan out how the hell I'm going to survive that night and plan my attack and then go out and combat based upon the situation I set up, which is what this is supposed to be doing, is giving you that, the whole idea of the theme of this is to give you that pre-combat strategy to build. So that's what I like about this, is before the attack, I have my strategy built up and I'm already thinking, this is how I'm going to weave in, this is how I'm going to funnel them in, and I'm going to try this attack. The combat session, the thing I like about that is, it's all done. I mean, you're not keep adding more zombies on constantly. It's not this onslaught. You have a time to sit, think, re-strategize, replan, and then attack again. It's not this constant horde. So you have your plan set up, your pre-strategy set up, you carry it out, you win or lose that night based upon that. You have the next day.
You lose.
You have the next day.
Sweet release.
No, you have the next day, you set up, you're like, okay, that didn't plan out. You plan out with your team, okay, let's do this. If you're going for points, you're going to have somebody on your team that's going to screw you. And then you also have your, you know, to get the daily goals. You know, if I want to go for points and be the sole survivor, not only am I going to plan it out, I'm going to plan it out so my daily goal gets met and I don't care what everyone else is. So there's a lot more strategy than any other zombie game out there. There's a ton of strategy in the pre-build-up for that, and that's what I like about this.
But there comes a point when there's too much going on in one game.
I think I like the strategy. This is all about pre-strategy, not just combat. The games you're talking about are just all zombie kill, zombie kill, zombie kill. This is really a tactical setup, and then you see how your tactical setup went. So this is more about the pre-strategy than the combat, and the games that you're comparing it to are all combat related.
I like strategy games.
Now, having said that, this isn't perfect. I'm scoring it only a 6.
Sure.
But it does have that strategy that no other zombie game out there has right now.
I'm just going to ask you the one question. You like the pre-strategy. I do feel the first 1 through 3 phase that you're in the game, you're only doing that for 10 minutes of the game, and then the rest of the 40 minutes you're playing the day 1.
Yeah, but
you're just stuck in phase 4.
I'm saying that I'm saying that was our problem, is we didn't focus. These should take longer. We should have come together and said, we want to funnel them through this area. No, we were just like, I'm going to slap this here, slap this here. I mean, that's really what you did, is I'm going to put this here, this here, and then we got this here.
But we still won regardless of the focus.
I think we were lucky. I think we were lucky that we did that.
I think the game is not there.
I just think that this is pre-strategy and you're focused so much on the combat that it's pre-strategy.
It does seem a little easy.
Andrew, I would love to hear what you have to say.
It's your turn. So I'm scoring it a 6.
I'm just here because it's a good hair day for me.
All I want to know is where I can get some of the dice for my copy of Yahtzee, because I think the dice are really cool.
They are, yeah.
Like click, click.
Yeah, I think that'd be super fun for Yahtzee, which was much more fun than this game. I don't know. The components are nice. There's things about it I didn't like. The gameplay just didn't work for me at all. It just drug on. Next. I mean, I was dang near falling asleep after a while. I had no connection to it. I didn't feel like my characters. I mean, they had special abilities. They had things. Didn't draw me in. I didn't feel it. The gameplay, it does play. There wasn't a time I had to follow rules. I mean, there's a couple glitches here and there. So I'd give it a 5 because it plays okay, and maybe this is your thing. Just wasn't my thing.
That's true. There's nothing broken about it.
There's nothing broken.
My thing comes down to
wasn't my thing.
It's not fun.
Well, my point, I'm going to throw this out there. If you look at all the games that are purely strategy that we've played, what have your scores been on them? Because this is really a strategy zombie game. If you look up on the board,
you're talking almost 50 reviews. I don't remember.
That's what I'm saying, though. Most of our games that you scored high are not strategy based.
I score high games that are strategy based, but I did not find that there was
I would argue that most of the games that we've scored high are not strategy based.
Any of our super fans out there, watch them all again, figure it out.
Absolutely. Tally all of our scores.
And figure out. But there we have it, that's Zombicide, or excuse me, Zpocalypse versus, I can't get my mic.
Freudian slip, what we really like.
No, Zpocalypse, and tune in next time, and we'll see you then.